Coming up on today's episode.
You kind of throw the fucking rules out at a certain degree and kind of do whatever feels natural and feels right to you.
I think I suck at rating movies because now I know what I gave it.
Are you second guessing now?
Yeah.
We do this every time
I
now.
know
It's
we
becoming a
do.
tradition. I assume everyone's lying.
Hmm.
When people tell me things, I just assume they're lying.
The answers that you're looking for are lying just beyond the frame.
So, hello, and welcome to Beyond the Frame. If you're either new to our show or you've been following us for a bit, hey, we're grateful either way. We love to have you here. I'm your host for this episode, Joe Parente. I'm an actor, a student of life, and a guy who really loves movies. And to my left, your right, is Ryan. Ryan, tell the good folks a wee bit about yourself.
A wee bit?
Yeah.
Just a wee bit?
No, go on and on if you want.
If I could just ramble about myself. I am a longtime cinephile, lover of cinema, and a writer-director here in Los Angeles. And I met Joe in an acting class a couple summers ago, and here we are.
Truth.
Continuing the tradition of discussing films together.
Yeah, exactly. So Ryan and I are here to discuss the 2004 release, My Summer of Love.
Yes, we are.
Yeah. And that title is so interesting, but we'll get to that.
It is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of the legacy movies that Ryan and I will be reviewing for June to honor Pride Month. So this film was directed by Pawel Pawlikowski. Excuse me if I just
Good job
said that
on
a little.
that. Yeah, that was
Pawel
nice.
Pawlikowski. There we go.
Yes.
And stars Emily Blunt, Natalie Press, and Paddy Considine. Our review is intended to give a spoiler-free, and we apologize if we give too much away, section, and then we'll give a warning before we get into spoiler territory, just in case you haven't seen that.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're seeing us on YouTube, you know the drill. Please like and subscribe. It helps the algorithms suggest us to other people.
Yes.
And also, really, please leave a comment if you feel moved to do so, because we will respond and we'd love to keep the conversation going. So with that, Ryan, shall we dive in?
We should, and it's worth noting the theme we'll be discussing today for this movie is living in reality versus
right.
living in a fantasy.
That's true.
Yeah, I'm excited to get to that.
Yeah, me too, because we both have thoughts on that.
We both do.
So this is our second Pride Month movie review, and it's the second time we've been taken to Europe. However, the setting for this one is not the languid Tuscan countryside, but the much more temperate West Yorkshire of England.
In the summer, too. Another summer movie.
True. However, I will say, that's one of the fun facts, that during the 5 weeks of filming in West Yorkshire, this was, in fact, the warmest summer in over 50 years.
Ooh.
Or they'd all be getting rained on and shivering.
Yeah,
So-
you've got some experience over there.
Oh, yes, I do.
In
And-
that side of town.
Yes, and the Yorkshire Dales are not a warm weather place to be.
Yeah.
At all.
I would hate the weather in Europe. I really would.
It takes getting used to. It helps if you have a full spectrum light bulb somewhere in your place too, so you can get
Just
some
the
UV.
gloomy gray, the rain.
Exactly.
Yeah, that'd
If
be
you grew up
tough.
in Seattle, it's a lot easier. But if you
Right.
don't grow up with that, it's
It's
challenging.
an adjustment.
So weather aside, this is a story of a brief summer romance / infatuation.
Yeah,
I know.
we'll call it that.
I know.
Yeah.
Romance is a bit of a stretch.
A lust, yeah.
Yes, and it's between two 16-year-old girls who come from opposite sides of the tracks.
Boy, you could say that again.
For sure. Mona, whose accent I'll get into a little bit later.
Okay.
How could I not think of Game of Thrones? You know nothing, Jon Snow.
yeah, true. the outlay, the wildlings.
Totally, I kept thinking that throughout the whole movie. I so wanted her to say that. She never said it. I got over my disappointment.
Yeah.
But Mona is played by Natalie Press, and she's poor, frustrated, lonely, and very bright.
Mm-hmm.
Her dad was never in the picture. Her mother had died of cancer, and her lone surviving relative, as far as we know, is her brother, played by Paddy Considine. And he's found Jesus, so he's got a good friend.
Yeah.
And he has also previously served time in the big house.
The big house.
Yeah. So he's had some challenges.
Yeah.
Enter Tamsin, who's played by Emily Blunt, and her family are visiting their holiday house. She's pretty, she's opinionated, and she's also struggling with family issues. And she's also been recently kicked out of her boarding school for, quote unquote, being a bad influence.
Right. We'll see that.
Gosh, I do so wonder what she means. Yeah. Well, that picture will become clear in time.
Yes.
We will discuss that. So they happen to meet on the side of a road, and thus begins their summer dance, I'll call it.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah, I like that.
That's probably more accurate than summer romance.
No, yeah, totally.
Yeah. So, okay. Now that we have that in the proper box, they become close and mutually infatuated pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
This movie does a really nice job of giving us background and context for Mona, the local girl.
Yeah.
Local poor girl, you could say. And we can see very easily why Tamsin would seem heaven sent for Mona. She's just like, she's exotic, utterly exotic for her.
Yeah, so different from her day to day.
Exactly.
It's like, yeah, exactly.
Massive.
Exotic's a great way to put it.
And for Tamsin, her interest seems more of the curious kind about Mona. Like, I wonder what this ant will do when I put this glass over it.
Yeah, that's a good way.
That's what kept coming to mind.
Totally.
Watching her.
Yeah, like, I like this is interesting. I like this little thing here. Let me try and
Exactly.
Let me try and mess with it and see what happens.
And that being said,
does she mess with it.
Oh boy, does she. And I got to say though, I really liked how the story unfolded, and our observations of the girls felt really intimate without being overtly sexual.
Yeah.
And their evolution to me felt believable.
Yeah, absolutely. Agreed.
I felt protective of Mona and intrigued by Tamsin.
Yeah.
The movie kept a good pace, and it kept me wondering where things are going.
Agreed.
And it also hit on interesting topics like religion or newfound quote unquote faith, loss, family issues, and sexuality. And I thought it was really excellent storytelling.
Yeah, me too. I think that I was intrigued. I was interested. I was drawn in. I thought that the two of them gave a lot of content. Gave a lot. That was funny. This is a little handoff. There you go. I thought that to me, what stood out was the performances of the two of them.
Yes.
Like, I was really intrigued when they were on the screen, and I really was interested in what they were going to say, how they were feeling, what kind of expressions they were going to give, and how this relationship was affecting each of them differently. And it was really interesting, the writing, the way it set it up, of how we had these two polar opposites, but there was a commonality between the two of them. This kind of like rebellious sort of like teenage angst-esque, like I wish my life was different. They both were coming from a place of that.
Yes, they were.
And see how that met in the middle. You can understand why a romance might develop out of something like that.
Absolutely true. They had a they had a loneliness that they shared, and a type of anger. And there is one scene where Mona acts out Tamsin's anger, and I think Tamsin kind of loves her for that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I loved, what scene I'm talking about. We're trying not to give anything away right now.
Spoilers yet.
But because that was just so incredibly raw. Another thing I really appreciated was the way this was shot, with a lot of Steadicam, was really close up. I mean, really intense close ups on their faces. So if there were even like micro expressions that we saw that. And that's where, as an actor in particular, I can so appreciate that, because you are completely embodying that character, because every facial expression should be appropriate to where we are in the story, who that character is.
And what they're feeling.
Exactly. And we've seen a good bit of where Mona is coming from. And I just give Natalie Press and Emily Blunt, both of them, a ton of credit for pulling this off the way they did. They just gave beautiful performances.
Totally. I couldn't agree more. This was my first time seeing this film.
Me too.
And I had an enjoyable experience watching it. It's Is it one of my favorite movies I've ever seen? No, but does it have a lot to say? Is it well executed? Is Emily Blunt a phenom? Yes, yes, and yes. I have to say, I really enjoy when a filmmaker knows what they want and disposes of the rules. I got that feeling watching this, that like the director had such a vision from the elements, the performances, the visuals, the edit. I could just tell that their stroke was in all of this, and I could really appreciate that. They were exercising their ability as an artist to listen. Rules exist sort of as a guideline in art. It's not like science or math.
Sure.
It's like, here's maybe what can help in this kind of scene or scenario or this feel you're trying to go for, but you kind of throw the fucking rules out at a certain degree and kind of do whatever feels natural and feels right to you. And that's the feeling that I got from watching this film, is that this director knew exactly what he wanted and went for it. And I really felt that. And even in the performances, like I said, I could see strokes of him in there. And that's, I think, what I took away from this. What really affected me the most was that he really went for it. And I can appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Did you enjoy the film?
A lot.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, a lot. I really did enjoy it.
Yeah.
I thought it was great storytelling, great performances.
Yeah.
Is believable all around.
Yeah. Very honest, very grounded.
Absolutely.
Very human.
And I look forward to talking about, Ryan and I are going to each discuss a scene from this movie, and I'm pretty excited to talk about my scene.
Me too.
Because I think that will help illustrate to all of you part of why we liked it and what we got out of this.
Yeah, the theme. Yeah,
it felt very personal and intimate and and believable.
Totally.
God, isn't it great, the movies we've seen? I mean, and how varied they are, and
oh my gosh, yeah, this is like the polar opposite of some movies we've seen.
Yeah,
it's so different.
Yeah, love it.
And so the same in so many respects.
Yeah,
just really great storytelling and really great command over a craft. And hats off. Yeah,
for sure.
So should we see if our stars align here, Joe?
I don't know. I think I suck at rating movies because now I know what I gave it.
Are you second guessing now?
Yeah.
We do this every time now. It's becoming a tradition
and
where
people,
it's like
y'all who are watching or listening, like, God, these guys really don't know what they. It's to me, it's hard to rate a movie. It just is hard to rate a movie.
Totally.
And it shouldn't be this difficult. I guess maybe I need a scale of 20 rather than 5 stars or something.
5 stars is tough. I rather the IMDb 10.
Exactly.
Because I feel, a 7's like a good movie.
Exactly.
But it feels weird giving a movie a 2 stars.
Yeah, when there are probably aspects of it that you liked.
Totally.
And appreciated.
So what do you think? What do you think?
What do I think you gave it? I think you gave it 3 stars.
I did.
Okay.
I did give it 3 stars, and I think you gave it 3 stars as
You
well.
are correct.
Our stars align, Joe.
Yes, they do.
And when it comes to My Summer of Love, our stars align.
Yes. So true.
That feels fair, given the context of other films that I've rated.
Yeah.
A 3 feels right.
Yeah.
It's not a knockout masterpiece, but it's not a bad film. I
enjoyed
enjoyed it.
I'd recommend it. I do
recommend
recommend
it.
it. I'm
Yeah.
officially recommending this.
I'm officially recommending it as well. You should see it. It's a good story. It's a good ride.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah. And it raises some interesting questions.
It does.
We will discuss here.
Yes, we will. So fun facts. We always like to share some fun facts because what happens behind the scene. I don't know. Ryan and I clearly find that kind of thing interesting. So hopefully all y'all will too. First one. Some of the scenes and quote unquote much of the dialogue. I looked for this. Was improvised.
Whoa, okay.
Yeah. So Emily Blunt exaggerated on how Edith Piaf's husband, who was actually her partner, wasn't a husband, died. And do you remember the story of her talking about this. We're not into spoiler territory, but
Exaggerated how he...
yeah, she said she killed him with a fork.
Right, I remember this. Okay,
Yeah. That was Emily. That was all Emily Blunt.
Okay.
Right there.
Okay.
And Natalie Press spontaneously drew the Tamsin portrait on the wall of her bedroom.
Whoa, so that wasn't in the script?
That was not in the script.
Wow, because that's like the bookend.
Yeah. She just went for it, and
That's like the
they filmed it.
beginning
And
and
it's
the-
like, what's she doing? Oh, that's what she's doing.
Interesting. I like that.
And the fact that when she drew that too, when she came back and when she put that on the wall, it was an act of rebellion and infatuation. And we'll get into
Yes,
that.
agreed.
It was awesome that she did that.
That's cool. I like that
And
a
the
lot.
fact that that came from Natalie Press, love that.
Yeah, shout out to Natalie.
Second fun fact, this won the BAFTA award for the best British film of 2005.
Nice.
Yeah.
Love that.
And it's, a little indie film that costs like £3 million to
Sure,
make. So
sure.
pretty freaking cool. Actually,
Very cool.
it cost 1.7.
1.7. Wow.
I know. Isn't that amazing?
Phenomenal.
Fun fact 3, this was Emily Blunt's film debut.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Talk about a debut, huh?
She was 21 years old, and she'd been acting for about 3 years, and this absolutely launched her career.
What a role.
By the way, fun fact 3, subset A, both Natalie Press and Paddy Considine, who are brother and sister, were 31 years old when this was filmed.
Oh my God.
And
she's
Emily Blunt,
31?
31, and she's playing a 16-year-old.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow.
I had to look at IMDb. I'm like, 1973? How is that possible? I'm like, there's got to be a mistake. And Patty, I'm like, they were both. And then Emily Blunt was born in 84. I was like, oh my God.
It's so
That's
funny
just
the
amazing.
range that you can get out of an actor.
Yeah. And it also shows if you live in England where there's no sun, you will have no wrinkles whatsoever.
100% believable.
Isn't
There's not a single second in that I did not believe that she was 16.
Yeah. And particularly all the close-ups.
She was almost double the age.
Yeah,
Wow,
exactly.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Great fun facts.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Very cool. I love that bit about the drawing being improv.
Yeah, me too.
That is phenomenal. That's a director's absolute fucking dream.
Isn't
To
it?
be on set and somebody starts doing that and you just go, oh my God, get the camera. Oh my God, roll right now.
I know.
What is she doing?
Amazing.
And it's like, this is exactly what that character would do. She
Yeah.
had such a grasp
She did.
of that character.
She did. Very impressive.
Wow,
We're going to
very
end up giving it
impressive.
more than 3 stars.
Kudos. Yeah, it's going up. Okay, so we're entering spoiler territory here, people. It's worth noting. And we're about to discuss our theme of living in reality versus living in fantasy. And if you've seen the movie, you know exactly what we're talking about and why we chose this theme. So the scene that I want to discuss,
Yeah.
which
Really
I
curious.
thought is really fascinating, is the Ouija board scene. Or I should say their makeshift Ouija board.
Yeah, I like
Because it was
that.
kind of like a
I like that.
glass table with some candles underneath
Not
and
a,
some
some
post-it
candles,
notes.
like 40
Yeah, oh
candles.
yeah, true.
Yeah.
True, it's worth noting it was a very impressive.
Beautiful. It's
a
absolutely
beautiful
beautiful. I was thinking
amount.
that table must have been warm from
Yeah,
all those
totally.
candles.
Yeah, it's going to
underneath
melt
it.
those post-it notes off. So they make this makeshift Ouija board, I should say. And this is about 50 or so minutes into the film. The two girls who are known skeptics to spirituality, belief system.
Yeah, we've seen that.
Things of the hoopla. At this point, they decide to make their own Ouija board to try to communicate with ghosts, I guess, spirits,
The other world.
the other side.
Yes.
Well, the glass starts moving, and they start asking questions, and we watch as Mona and Tamsin have very different reactions to this. So Mona seems to actually believe that what's happening is real. We can see it on her face that she is genuinely freaked out. Sure, she's a skeptic, but she's staring at this glass going, what the fuck is
Yeah.
happening right now? I'm
Yeah.
not doing that. Are you doing that? Like, she's genuinely freaked. Again, it calls back to the brilliant performance. But I totally believed her in this moment. I was
Me
like,
too.
yeah, she seems genuinely freaked out.
Yeah.
Someone who is living in their body, someone who is living in reality. And on the other hand, we've got Tamsin, who is having a little bit of fun with it seems, huh? She's such an incredible liar that she even convinces Mona that it is real, even though we know that she's the one that's moving the glass, or at least we find out later on.
I was waiting. I was waiting to see.
When I first watched this scene, I don't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, no.
I wasn't sure who was moving it.
When you first watched the
When
scene.
I first saw the scene, because I obviously went back and watched the scene again when I was doing my notes. But at the first watch through, I'm going, this is interesting. And it was kind of towards the tail end that I started to pick up, like, I don't know. I think if anybody's moving it, it's Tamsin. And then as the movie develops, you go, was anything real that she was saying?
Right.
Which we'll talk more about.
Yes, we will.
But
much more.
She gets the answers from the board that she wanted.
Right.
That she
in order
was
to manipulate Mona.
100%. Because she starts talking about her sister, and was it Dad that made you,
Yes.
It was Dad, wasn't it? Like she just wanted her own personal validation.
Right.
And wanted to use that to kind of manipulate.
Yeah. Are you at peace? I think she was asking.
Because I think afterwards, the next scene, they go into her room.
Yep.
They finally go into like the sister's room. But I think this scene is such a fantastic contrast between the two characters, seeing how Mona very much is living in her own body. She's living in reality, and Tamsin very much lives in her head, in her imagination, in what she wants to be true. One of them actually has had horrible shit happen to them. They live a really difficult life. And then the other makes everything up, and her life is actually pretty good, or so it seems.
There is one family issue that
there's
they're dealing
shades
with,
of yes,
for sure.
But was that real?
I would say yes.
Okay.
But we don't know for sure.
We don't know for sure, and it makes me skeptical. No pun intended. Because
go ahead.
At the end, when we figure out that she's been pathologically lying the entire film, it makes me question: was that real? Was that a little bit of truth?
Exactly, and that's part of the brilliance of it, is that it's hard for us to say if what she was honest about.
What I'm curious here.
Yeah.
Have you ever met somebody like Tamsin? Have you met a Tamsin?
To that extent, I'm thankful I haven't. Because she called herself a fantasist. I would call her a sociopath.
That's a good,
Because I think she called herself that. Well, I'm going to get into that in my scene. I haven't known anyone to that extent. Have you?
I have.
Whoa.
Yeah, I've known a couple of people like that.
How long did it take you to realize you need to steer really clear of them? Did you get burned?
One of them, it took a really long time, and one of them, it was extremely quick. And I think
you learned from the first one.
Correct. So the first one was a girlfriend I had in high school.
Okay.
One of my first girlfriends. And she was just an absolute pathological liar and would lie about the most insane shit, which in this movie she lies about.
Do you mean insane or inane? Kind of like there's no reason to lie about it, but she did anyway?
I think she had reason.
Was she lying about small things just for the sake of it? Do you know what I mean?
No.
Oh, she was lying about
She's lying about
things.
Massive life things.
Oh, fascinating.
Pregnancies, cancer, all kinds of just crazy shit.
Wow.
To manipulate me.
And you're not still together.
No, we didn't last. That
is so weird.
But it took but to what your earlier question was, it took me an extremely long time because I was so young. I was 15, 16 when this was going on. And so I didn't really have a concept of I'm being manipulated, I'm being lied to. Wow. I believed it.
So the reveal in this movie must have hit a chord for you.
100%. I was like, oh my God, I know it. I've met a Tamsin. I've been there. I know exactly how Mona's feeling. Like, it was a romantic situation as well as my girlfriend at the time.
Right.
And so these it only was until my mom kept saying, she's lying. She's not, none of that's real. But it wasn't until it was like maybe the 8th, 9th time she said some insane, drastic lie. Like she lied about having cancer or some shit. And I eventually was like, okay, yeah, there's no way this is all true. I should leave. And then the second one was in college, where I had a girl that I was seeing at the time came to visit and stay with me, and she faked like a seizure for attention. And I clocked it really fast. And when she left that next morning, I never spoke to her again.
That is fascinating.
But it was because I had that experience.
Yes.
I was able to see what I had already gleaned from that earlier life experience. And this was maybe, so if I was 15, 16, that happened when I was like maybe 19. So I had like 3 or 4 years in between. And I was able to go, oh, I know what this is. I've seen this before. I've met you before. I've met an iteration of you.
How fascinating that you've had that twice.
Yeah, bizarre.
That's really something.
What also makes me now, it's something I have to work on. I assume everyone's lying. When people tell me things, I just assume they're lying. Just based on these experiences I've had, I guess, of being lied to my face.
Oh, that's
on numerous occasions.
That's interesting.
So when somebody says, "Oh, sorry, I can't make it. I've got to go to a whatever. I got an accident. I can't make it to your birthday, but I don't know, whatever it is."
Okay.
I assume they're lying.
I wasn't lying when I couldn't make it to your
I know
birthday.
you weren't. I know you weren't.
I was not at all.
100%. I'm getting better at it, but it's still something I have to work on.
Because that actually makes me kind of sad for you in a sense, because look, I try to be neutral about it. Like when I hear something, my thinking is I don't know. Okay, but I don't know.
Not to tie
because the assumption of lying then if one's not careful with that adds a layer of cynicism, that adds a layer of disappointment, like inherently.
Totally.
And you don't want to have that piling up on you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that just adds, to me, like a psychic weight, if you will.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
Good that you're aware of it, though. That's really important.
Yeah, I'm aware of it. I'm working on it. You know, I recognize it when it comes up, when somebody does say something to me. And I assume I just immediately, as my gut reaction, I just as a safety.
Bullshit meter.
Yeah, it's like a safety thing of like, God, I was lied to my face deliberately for years. So I have this like, it's like I'm trying to protect myself. My subconscious is trying to protect myself. So at least I can recognize it, but it's still something I got to try and like chip away at and get better at.
Fascinating. I'm for your sake, I'm really glad that you're aware of that.
Yeah, totally. I'm glad that you have never been exposed to someone like that.
No,
it's crazy. I'm curious out there if is anybody else met a Tamsin or been exposed to a Tamsin?
Please write in the comments.
Totally.
I'd be fascinated to hear about that.
Yeah.
Woof.
Sorry, that was a little heavy there.
There's nothing to be sorry about. That's why we do this.
Right.
So I appreciate your sharing that.
That's what art does at its best, right? It makes us reflect.
That's exactly it. So please
life.
do not apologize for that. Okay, so the scene that I chose to discuss for this, and it fits in with our theme, absolutely. It's the last scene of the film, and you know, we've had the big reveal, and we've had signs all along the way that Tamsin is full of shit. There's the Edith Piaf killing her husband with a fork and not being prosecuted because crimes of passion aren't prosecuted in France. Right.
Yeah, that's the reason.
Right.
Yeah.
But also that she had read Friedrich Nietzsche. I didn't buy that for a freaking second.
Yeah, that was interesting.
I just
when she said that.
Didn't.
Yeah.
And you'd really like him. Really?
Yeah.
From all you know of Mona and all of her experience, you really think Nietzsche?
Yeah.
I thought, oh, this one is so full of shit. So then the first major reveal came when Tamsin, seduced Mona's brother, Phil, vis-a-vis his new bestie, Jesus, and embarrassing him in a major way. Yeah. I mean, they start to kiss and she laughs and she says, "You're too easy, you fucking fraud."
Yeah, it was a great moment.
Ouch.
Man. Oh,
and
man.
he was on the verge of He had his hands around her throat.
Yeah, he could have killed
Which
her.
wasn't going to be the last time she was going to have hands around her throat within the next half hour of her life.
Yeah, another family member.
We're getting to that. We're getting to that. Exactly.
Yeah.
Let's get everyone in the family to wring her neck.
It's all just...
So when we find out that Tamsin's dearly departed sister, Sadie, was certainly alive and kicking, and wanted her top back from Mona. Thank you.
Hey, where are you going with that?
But exactly. But also that Tamsin was going back to school, not running away with Mona. It was like, oh my God, reveal after reveal.
Brutal.
And this was a brutal blow to Mona on several fronts, because it begged the question, what is true when it comes to Tamsin, as you were saying earlier, and everything was in question, as you just said before. And Mona leaves Tamsin's house and they head to the river. I'm just, if you've seen this movie, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And she's very upset. And Tamsin follows and sits next to her on this big rock. And she tells Mona in a very casual tone of voice. And I went back and watched this because it was such a fascinating scene to me. Because now this person knows that you've just been lying unbelievably,
and this is their first interaction since figuring it out.
And her friend's brother has just choked her, only for a few seconds, but nonetheless,
yeah.
And so she tells Mona that she had to go back to school, and that Mona knew that, kind of like, you knew that.
You knew I had to go back to school.
No, she didn't.
No.
She says other things to Mona, and Mona just sits quietly and just listens.
Poor Mona, man.
And it was clear by what Tamsin was saying, that she felt it was no big deal at all. And she was just exercising her poetic license, as she called it. Because after all, she's a fantasist. And it's kind of like, well, then no harm, no foul. Because I'm a fantasist. Oh, you're a fan? Oh, no problem then.
That's why this scene is so brilliant, is because it's so true to the character. She lives in a fantasy. So, of course, to her, it was all just fun and games.
Yeah, like, come on.
It was all in our heads.
Come
like,
on.
It was like a little fantasy we were living, like, of course. And then you get the contrast of Mona, who is so in her body, so in reality, so in here and now, that she felt that was all real. She really had those feelings. She really felt that way. She meant what she said.
Understandably. And look, Mona has had education through Life of Hard Knocks, clearly. Like, she's probably not going to go to university. At least it looks that way. Although clearly she's got the horsepower mentally to take care of that. But she just doesn't have the opportunity that Tamsin does. So as this, I still want to, I'm kind of actually still getting to my point of this scene, which I thought was remarkable. Yeah. So Mona gives a small smile and then slips down the rock into the water. And the camera stays on Tamsin's face.
Brilliant.
And she thinks, oh, all is forgiven, because before, sorry, I meant to say this, but before Mona slips into the water, she just gives a faint, almost like Mona Lisa smile, and slips into the water. And you can see Tamsin go, oh, it's okay.
Yeah.
Everything's okay.
Yeah,
and they're fully clothed.
We're back to playing in the water.
That's right.
Again.
And they both slide into the water with all of their clothes on. And, this rang really true. And I genuinely wondered what was going to happen next.
Yeah. What's going on in Mona's head?
Because a lot of times while Tamsin is talking, we're looking at a very intense close-up of Mona's eyes.
Yeah.
And just Mona looking at her.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, what's going on in there? And
this
she's
is what I'm talking about.
so quiet.
This is what I'm talking about.
And you know from the movie, she is very passionate, Mona.
Yeah.
She is not a wallflower. There's a lot going on.
These are the decisions that the director made that are just so fantastic.
And to me, these are the actors are making those decisions. I mean, that might be what the director wants. Granted, it's a shared vision. One has the vision, one has to execute, and it was just executed so brilliantly. So they
I was referring to like him being tight.
Got it.
The camera being tight on the
That.
eyes. Yeah.
Got it.
Totally.
Okay.
Yeah, not to take anything away from
Okay.
the actors. I think they obviously smashed it out of the park. But this is what I was talking about earlier about his stroke being through everything, like being so tight
Yes.
on her eyes in that moment.
So true.
Is brilliant.
It really is, because it gets us. Wouldn't you want to be that? Like, you really like how is she
What is
taking
she
this
thinking
after
right now?
everything that's just been revealed?
Which is interesting because this is kind of the first time in the film that we don't know what Mona's thinking. We're
don't.
curious to what's going
We
on
don't.
behind throughout.
That's right.
She's very face value,
That's right.
and now is the
Now
first
she's-
instance where like
She's
know what she's about
she's
to do.
showing some kind of restraint we have not seen in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So I also thought that this act could get through to Tamsin. So okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. They slip into the water. They start kissing, and then Mona puts her hands around Tamsin's throat and pushes her under the water and holds her under the water.
Mm-hmm.
And I went back to see how much does Tamsin thrash, and she does thrash, and she's being held under
Yeah,
for a good bit of time.
yeah.
And you can see that her eyes are open. She's looking up. And I thought, if she had held her under to the very brink, I thought this act could have done a lot for Tamsin as a human being. Because if she thought she was going to die, it actually might have had a switch thrown inside of her.
Like, oh shit, I can't just keep lying like this and living in
And
fantasy.
it might have made her less of a sociopath.
Totally.
To me, Mona was doing her a solid. She was giving her very real feedback of consequences.
Yeah, it wasn't
You think it's fun. And
to mess with other people's
yeah,
feelings.
and the brother, man, I thought he was going to punch her.
Yeah.
And I thought one punch and he's going to prison forever.
Yeah.
And her face would be broken forever.
Yep.
But she was so playing with fire. And I just thought that was so well done.
Totally.
And she just showed her to stop messing with people or she's going to get a lot worse than suspended from school. And that could shake her into reality.
You're totally right. You're absolutely right. That could have been one of those moments. Yeah, it's interesting. I think it's such a well done scene.
It is so
Because
well
even
done.
now I'm thinking about it. I'm probably gonna watch it when you leave.
I watched it like 3 times.
And I'm gonna really look and pay attention to
There's something we
because
also
there was a
Go ahead.
moment earlier in the film when they did the shrooms together and they said to each other in the water, I think it was.
they did. If you
Leave me, I'll kill you, and then I'll kill. And then Mona says, "If you leave me, I'll kill you, and I'll kill myself." So, again, it's another instance of Mona being true to her word. She never said a fucking word that wasn't true. She said everything that was real.
That's right.
Everything that she felt. She was face value. This is who I am. She couldn't hide a thing. And I can appreciate that and respect that. And even in that moment, you left me.
That's right.
Now you're going to die. And then there was a switch there, and it could have been the love. It could have been the feelings, the passion that she did have for her, that she did probably feel was real to a degree, that held her that allowed her to let go.
And to get her agreed, and to get her into that position too by kissing her and being very like, she seduced Tamsin right back.
I know. It's badass.
Did you notice? So the camera stays on Mona, and this is well
Yes.
done. Mona gets up out of the water, and Tamsin, you crazy fucking bitch.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm watching her facial expression, and she was really. It wasn't like the brother, ha ha ha. Even after getting choked, it had an impact on her.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And
She was affected.
now we follow. We're backing up as Mona's walking towards us, and the steady cam is like Cloverfield all over again for me. And we see her give just the slightest bit of a little smile.
Yeah. Yeah, you didn't fool me.
You didn't fool me. And what I hoped was a good future for Mona. Okay, you're a little bit more savvy. You were already savvy. Now you're a little bit more savvy. I wanted good things for her.
What's moving about this
Once
too
we
is
saw
that thinking now about the ending, she's now, in my mind, going to go back to her brother with a newfound understanding of him.
Yes, and not be so harsh.
Yeah.
On him.
Like,
Not be so harsh.
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah, exactly. I also think he's going through a crisis of faith. I'm not sure he actually had it in the first place. I think he was just holding on to that as something to try to get him through, you know, and his faith was like that deep.
Yeah.
But I thought I thought the same thing. I thought their relationship could get good now.
Yeah.
This could be interesting.
It's a good ending.
And it's a very good ending.
Very good ending. Yeah. I mean,
3 stars.
Okay, so if you liked My Summer of Love and you want to watch more movies like it, here's 5 you can stream right now. For a movie about a forbidden romance between two women in 19th century England, where passion smolders beneath regression and silence, check out the 2020 film Ammonite, now available on Amazon. For a movie about a woman returning to her Orthodox Jewish community and rekindling a taboo relationship with a childhood friend, check out the 2017 film Disobedience, now available on Max. For a film about a reserved department store clerk and a glamorous older woman, it was like reserved, whose connection challenges 1950s social norms, check out the 2015 film Carol, now available on Hulu. That's a really good movie. I've seen that. For a movie about two men who meet for a one-night stand that turns into something intimate and quietly life-altering, check out the 2011 film Weekend, now available on AMC Plus.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. And for a movie about two reckless lovers on the run throughout a surreal, violent America, check out the 1990 film Wild at Heart, now available on Amazon. That's a Lynch classic.
Yeah, it is.
So, Joe,
Yeah,
thank
Ryan.
you so much, everyone out there, for staying with us today. And remember, as always, you're the main character in your own life. So don't be afraid to take a step back and take a look at the bigger picture. Because sometimes the answers that you've been looking for are lying just beyond the frame. We'll see you next time. Peace.